Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel and thank you so much for stopping by and checking out this video. I know I didn't get a chance to do a voiceover in the last video, but all the same I wanted to jump in and tell you guys thank you for your feedback and your comments. I really appreciate hearing that you guys enjoyed seeing the sketch process. It is a little bit different for me recording it because I do tend to get distracted even just in general when I am sketching, because I kind of zone out and think about where I want to take it from time to time, which I did my best to edit out those parts where I wasn't drawing at all, where I was just like needing my needed eraser and zoning in or zoning out, looking at my sketch and kind of going, where do I want to take this? You know what I mean? And so it's a learning process for sure. I tend to usually watch like TV or YouTube or movies when I am sketching, because it kind of helps me to like, as weird as it sounds, it kind of helps me to have something else to focus on so that I can work on my sketch without finding myself getting overly distracted, if that makes sense. Like, so it's two things that I can allow myself to focus on, to where the one thing that I am actually working on and focusing on the most doesn't get overwhelming. I don't know if that's the best way to describe it, but that's kind of how it is. I don't know. But all the same, I really appreciated it. So my plan going forward is to kind of just do every video from now on with the sketch at the beginning. There will be some videos that won't have the sketch, but that's because they are sketches that I already have drawn, already have completed sketching, that I still want to come on and do the illustration, do the inking and the coloring for you guys and show you. But for new sketches and new illustrations moving forward, I'm definitely going to try and get those recorded for you guys so you can kind of see the full creative process from start to finish, and see how I tend to approach every sketch a little bit differently. More often than not, I will start a sketch by doing the eyes, but like you saw in today's video, I did the sketch more so by kind of drawing the outline of where I wanted the head to be placed and then working from there. This one, I did particularly know ahead of time that I was doing a more so portrait style illustration, where it is mostly focused on the head and the hair and everything, rather than having a full body illustration. And going forward with that, I knew how I wanted the structure to look for the illustration, which made it a lot easier to kind of sketch out the head position first rather than jumping in and doing the eyes first. Because sometimes when I am trying to do a certain position for the head itself, like how I have it more angled upwards, or like the head leaning back, I should say, if I don't really sketch out the kind of base of the head first before the eyes, then I can kind of have my eyes look a little more crooked than I'd like. So it's just how I approach different illustrations in different ways. And sometimes you'll even see moving forward that for certain sketches, I will sketch the body first and sketch the head completely last. And I know that kind of sounds weird, but sometimes I'm not sure how I want the head to be positioned, so I draw the body first. But yeah, so jumping in and going into newer videos coming, I want to be able to show you guys like the full creative process and kind of give you a behind the scenes of how a sketch or illustration comes to be from start to finish. And this one I had a lot of fun doing. I fully anticipated doing watercolor. So this is a different kind of paper than I would normally use. This is actually Pentallic watercolor paper. It's in a like hardbound book, and I actually really like this watercolor paper. It is a bit more textured than I would prefer. I tend to prefer the smoother watercolor paper, but I still really liked how this one turned out. I did use the watercolor pretty heavily, and there isn't really much warping. There's a little bit of like a bend to it, so it's kind of curved on each of the ends, but outside of that, which is kind of more normal for watercolor paper, there isn't any like warping or really bubbling to the paper in an unnecessary amount. So I definitely will be using that paper a bit more for watercolor illustrations in particular. I do also have other watercolor paper that I want to try, but I try to utilize like one paper or sketchbook before I move on to another sketchbook, so that I'm not continuously jumping around from sketchbook to sketchbook, because that's how I sometimes will miss paper in a sketchbook. And I feel like if I don't fill in the sketchbook and I go and I get a new one, that sketchbook kind of doesn't go to waste but isn't fully utilized. And that's where I try not to do that. I try to use every bit that I can, even in like my random sketchbooks where I'm just sketching just to sketch. It's all super messy, super rough. I will use both sides of the paper, because it just, I'm getting the full extent of a sketchbook that's to me more of a scrap sketchbook. So just personal how I do stuff. But for the inking today, I did do brush inking. It makes me so nervous because it's so much easier to have a hiccup when you are doing brush inking, or have something that just doesn't land right. You add a little bit too much pressure where you meant to add less pressure, and little stuff like that that you don't really think of until you're about to go in and do brush inking. And I think it came out pretty good. I'm not gonna lie, for this full illustration, not even just like the sketch or anything like that, before I even started doing the illustration, I was like, if at any point like I just messed this up completely, I'm just gonna pretend like this video never existed. But thankfully, I think it came out pretty good. I didn't have that many issues, and I'm happy with how it turned out, so can't complain. Although you never know when you go to jump in and you're a little bit more timid to the materials that you are using. But I did use the Dr. Ph.Martins Black Star Waterproof Indie Ink in the matte that I had received from the Art Snacks Inktober sketch box or collection box. And I still really love it. I did use that primarily for the majority of Inktober this last year, so I was a bit more comfortable jumping into it. It's still nerving, you know, anytime you want to use brush ink or anything like that, but I'm super happy with it. I'm super happy with how it turned out. I personally love to lay ink more often than not before I do any kind of coloring, because for me it's kind of coloring in the lines. I can do it the opposite way around, but for my personal preference, like I almost prefer to have like an outline, unless I'm specifically trying to build a softer look and really soft edges. I tend to like having that more cartoony type of illustration look with the heavy black lines. So I don't know, we'll see going forward, but I did use my Winsor and Newton watercolors again, and I love them. I honestly haven't used them enough. I haven't really done much watercolor since I got them, to be honest. Like outside of the watercolors that you guys have seen that I posted on the channel, I did one watercolor illustration yesterday to kind of get my feelers back and to get a little practice in. I just did it for myself to kind of paint and see where it goes. And I did have one follower on my Instagram comment asking about a watercolor tutorial, I will say let's make that a little bit more of a future video. I just want to be a little more comfortable going forward so that I can help you in the right way, and help you in the best way. Now, if you want, I can very easily go through and kind of give you guys a mini tutorial on like skin tones and stuff like that, because I do have a kind of specific color combination that I tend to use when I am doing the skin tones. If that would help any, I don't know. We'll see. Let me know. I had a lot of fun doing this though. I realize more and more, especially when I actually take the time to do watercolor the way that it should be, that I really enjoy it. There are times where I try and lay heavy pigment first with watercolor rather than building the color, and I kind of feel more rushed when I do that, and I don't feel like I'm actually giving the illustration the opportunity to kind of build itself. So today I try to do more soft colors and build and build and build the layers to try and help build that depth. And it's definitely something where when I actually take the time and appreciate the medium, I feel like I appreciate the illustration that I've created a lot more. So just something to keep in mind for yourselves as well moving forward. But yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and end my part of this, right about here, shamelessly plugging myself, of course, at the end of these videos like I do. If you want to continue to support me, feel free to leave a like, share this video, follow me on my Instagram. I am on Instagram, Twitter, Tumblr, Snapchat, even if you guys would like. I don't post too much, although I'm trying to post more on there. And now, of course, and I'm still building on it, on Patreon. And for all of those social media profiles, I'm under the same name, Greatly Geeky, all one word. It is the same as my channel name, except there is no space. I just had to put a space for YouTube for whatever reason. But yeah, come find me, come check me out. I appreciate all of you. I know I've seen some of you come over to my Instagram. It's been great. And I've seen some of you from Instagram coming over to YouTube, which has been super awesome. So as always, thank you so much for watching. I hope that you guys have a wonderful day. You guys are amazing and all the best. And I love seeing your guys' art. So thank you for following me so that I can see what you guys do as well. And I will see you in the next video.